Okay, we're here and welcome to the Slim Nation. And my name is Slim Overton, and this is a special edition of the Slim Nation, but you know, the Slim Nation could pop up at any time. We don't have a set time yet, but we are working on time, but we just like to be available for people to come on and talk about whatever they want to talk about. So today, we have guests from, or members from, and we're from the Portsmouth Virginia Organizing Group. And right now we have Susan Fincke. Is that how you pronounce it, Susan?
Fincke.
Fincke. Okay. Well, I want to put that.
Everybody does.
Everybody
does it.
That's the way it looks. You know, it should be. But, it's Fincke. Susan Fincke. And welcome, Susan. Thanks for joining us here on the Slim Nation.
Thank you.
Hopefully Ray will come in later. You know, Ray is a busy guy too. He might have got caught up in some of the million things he does.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we'll go ahead and get started. And as I said earlier, our guest is representative from the Portsmouth Virginia Organizing, and she's here. Well, first, Susan, tell us a little bit about Portsmouth Organizing. Because I remember back in, I think it was 2016, around there when Megan came to Portsmouth to organize a group. It's been a group that's been around for a while, but I'll let you give a little.
Right. Happy to. Virginia Organizing is actually a statewide grassroots organization. It's headquartered in Charlottesville, and they've been around since 1995. It is a nonpartisan group, which means that we're not aligned with any political party. We don't support any political candidates or anything like that. And when we say grassroots, that means that we are down in the community, talking to people, working to empower people, give people who do not historically have a voice in their community, give them a voice, amplify their voice and their concerns. That's essentially the mission of Virginia Organizing. The Portsmouth chapter has been around, like you said, since 2016. We have about 50 members. Like every organization, we've got a core group of maybe 25 very active members. And it is open to anyone. We meet the first Monday of every month. Our decision making and our plans, our strategies are all developed through consensus, through input from all the members. So it's not a top-down organization; it's a bottom-up organization.
And you know, Virginia Organizing, you said it's a grassroots organization, and grassroots and people with feet on the ground, they are the backbone of really getting things done. You know,
absolutely.
Groups like yourself, like Virginia Organizing, other groups that are, you know, and even though you're nonpartisan, you know, smart politicians know that they need people with foots on the ground, even though you all don't do that. But just give an example of how important people, the grassroots people are, and talk a little bit about some of the things, because you all deal with a variety of subjects. And ask this first: do you all, you know, watch and see what's going on, and you pick subjects or pick areas that you all want to address, or do people come to you, or a combination of both?
A combination of both, absolutely. We don't dictate the issues that the group is going to undertake. It comes from the group. One of the first issues that Virginia Organizing Portsmouth took on was the school to prison pipeline, and a lot of people are familiar with that. And that came from individuals in the community who had firsthand experiences with children being suspended, not being allowed to return to school, and what happens to those kids and the lack of services for those kids. So there were some changes made in Portsmouth Public Schools to address the concerns that these parents brought before the school board. And Virginia Organizing members, we go to school board meetings, we go to city council meetings, we protest, we write letters to the editor, we meet with elected officials, we hold forums to get information out and to gather information. Most recently, we worked on getting mindfulness in schools. And we don't need to go too far to see how COVID and any other number of stressors has affected children than what's happened recently in Newport News. But we have known for a while that teaching young children mindfulness helps them self-regulate and control their behaviors and focus more. So we worked on mindfulness in schools, and just this past semester, Coach Baker has launched through the Portsmouth public school system mindfulness programs in 2 schools. And Coach Baker had been working on mindfulness, I think, at Churchland Academy for a number of years, and he actually had the data to back up that he was seeing results from teaching young children mindfulness. And these are simple practices like stopping and breathing and focusing and sort of regrouping and regathering yourself instead of reacting constantly to stimulus in the environment. We count that as a success that Coach Baker is out there teaching young people how to manage their emotions right now. We hold workshops. We have recently done we do dismantling racism workshops probably twice a year. We have a 1-day workshop, and then we have a weekend workshop on dismantling racism. We also have a gender justice workshop. Again, that one I think is a 1-day workshop. We also have recently put together a reproductive justice forum where we invite people to learn more about reproductive justice and what that means. It goes well beyond the issues that most people would think about, for example, abortion or mifepristone. Reproductive justice has to do with access to prenatal care, access to postnatal care, access to birthing doulas, access to fresh food, access to clean water, those kinds of things. So we tackle a broad range of issues that actually affect us all.
You know, and one, well, I'll mention this too, is we had Jensen Baker on last week. Well, I had him
Great.
on
Yeah.
Yeah. And he mentioned that he had gotten together with Virginia Organizing.
Right.
And with this mindfulness
right.
program, and
right.
working well in schools in Portsmouth and in Virginia Beach. So
yeah, he does a wonderful job.
Yes.
Wonderful job. We would love to see that in every school.
Yeah, and probably will, because one of the questions I asked them, are they tracking? One of the things when you have organizations or groups, you have to track what you're doing.
Right.
That's how you convince, if you
right.
want to expand, that's how you convince other people to get involved. You have a proven track record.
Right.
And he's been able to show that, and you mentioned that just a little while ago, been able to show how successful it can be.
Absolutely.
If you implement it properly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I want to say this too. One thing about Virginia Organizing, a very diverse group.
Yes.
I know I've been to a few meetings in the past, and see people of all persuasions or religious persuasions, and probably political differences.
Absolutely.
But you're all there for a common goal, and I think makes the group most effective when you go places, especially when you go to the General Assembly.
Absolutely.
And whoever's you're addressing, they see a rainbow group,
Absolutely.
And
that's
go ahead.
That's one of the things that I find particularly rewarding about it. I get exposed to new ideas, people coming from different parts of the community, religious backgrounds, et cetera, And the thing that's so nice about it is we can come together, we can talk about issues, and we can agree on how we're going to move forward to address those. And the diversity is a wonderful thing. I love it.
Yeah, and often we miss out on the opportunity of just communicating with each other.
Absolutely.
I have people that have differences and then they don't talk, but once they get together and start talking, they might find out they have more things in common.
Right.
than they disagree on.
Right.
And disagreement is good because it presents people with different ideas or different approaches to things. So I think that's a sort of a great way that you all have been able to be successful.
Right. There's a lot of talking going on at our meetings.
Yeah. And I know sometimes it's disagreements, but you know,
absolutely.
like I said, disagreements are good because you get to the point where you say, you know, I never thought about that, or I still disagree with you, but that's something I can think about, you know.
Right. Or tell me why you feel that way.
Yeah. So
enlighten me. Maybe I'm working off a misconception, or maybe I don't have all the correct facts. So yeah, there's a lot of give and take.
Yes. Yeah, and if you take something, a premise like that, and expand it throughout the whole city, you know, things will work out a lot better. But
Wouldn't that be great?
I think you're starting to see that in the city of Portsmouth. You see people that wouldn't normally communicate, not that they don't like each other or anything, but they just don't run in the same circles or per se. And it's been several issues that have brought people together that normally wouldn't come together, and they found out, oh, okay, well, we have this in common. Maybe we can work together and be more effective. And that's what I see with the Virginia organizing. And you know, since you all been organized, been able to be successful and at least bring attention to different subjects, as opposed to some people just sitting among themselves and complaining.
Absolutely.
Or typing on, putting posts on social media and not getting out there and doing anything about it. Okay, absolutely. I see Ray is coming in. Let me let him in. Okay, he'll be coming in soon. But anyway, you know, and when Ray gets in, we'll talk about what you all the next thing you're planning on the 27th. Hey Ray, how you doing?
Hey man, I apologize, man. I had this other appointment run over.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we said looked like you've been umpiring or something.
I have, and it was like a 3-hour game. Should have been over an hour. Should have been over an hour ago.
Yeah. Well, we said you probably had. It's one of the many things that you do. You know, one of the many hats you wear. But anyway, Susan has up to this point has given us a breakdown, a little bit of history about Virginia organizing and some of the things they've been doing. And I think we were just about to get into what the event coming up now on the 27th, I believe, concerning mental health. And mental health is something that's dear to my heart. We talk about it a lot on Portsmouth Coffee Talk, and it's important to me here on the Slim Nation on our one-on-ones. So I'll let you get into that. And Ray, you're just coming on, so you don't know what Susan has said. So I'm not going to ask you to make any comments now, but you can fill in once she starts talking about this mental health program.
Okay, go ahead.
You can explain to me exactly what it is.
You good? Go ahead.
You want me to talk, Ray, or you?
If I thought you was
no, I'll go ahead and then you jump in.
Okay, let me. Okay, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. What Slim is talking about, we continue to work on mental health in Portsmouth as an issue that is concerning to us, and something that, again, that has bubbled up from the grassroots. Like everybody, people will come to us with situations or stories, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the things that we try to do is to bring those stories together to see if there's some commonalities, to see if there's some common themes, and to see if there are ways that we might, as a grassroots organization, address those. A lot of our efforts start out with what we call listening sessions. And those are just opportunities for citizens to come and tell their story or share their insights or share their concerns about whatever the issue might be. And what's going to be taking place on Monday, March 27th at 6 o'clock at St. James Episcopal is a listening session specifically regarding mental health in Portsmouth. So what we're doing is we're inviting people to come and sit down and talk with us about what their concerns are about mental health services and begin to help us formulate how we might approach addressing some of those issues if they can in fact be addressed.
Yeah, and by the way, Kenny Wright said, Susan, go Tar Heels. I don't know if he's messing with you because, or he's just.
This year he's messing with me.
Yeah, I figured that, but anyway, yeah. So that's great. Ray, is there anything you'd like to add to that? Because this is something y'all been doing for a while.
Yeah, one of the great things about and the things that really led me to join Virginia Organizing several years ago is just as Susan said, our group is nonpartisan, and we're about looking into items of injustice. We're looking into things that actually cause problems, for individual families, for communities, and the things that are the root causes. We don't declare, or we aren't experts in a lot of these different categories, but we do make connections with experts, and then we make connections with the community. And this is one of the things that this session is going to do, is just for the citizens that attend to learn about the kinds of things that other citizens are dealing with. When we got involved, I know when I first came in, we was dealing with expulsions in Portsmouth Public Schools, and that's the kind of thing that we found that really was bad. And so we don't try to stir up. We just try to make sure that things are being addressed. And like you said, with all of the mass shootings and all, mental health is been very prevalent in those situations. And then there's so many other parts of mental health, like dementia and opioid use, drug use, alcoholism, things like that, contributory factors. But if we all as a community, can lean on one another and share with one another, we can help one another and guide each other into the proper channels to go to address these. And as we all know, it's about the dollar, it's about money, it's about the federal government, it's about the state and the city doing their fair share, doing their part to make sure these inequities, these problems are addressed. And we do have some shortages of, we know in Virginia, with funding for mental health, even facilities, there's some plans for some more facilities, but right now, that's a big problem when someone is in distress or when someone needs help, they can go through behavioral health care, but their first stop a lot of times is through law enforcement or through the hospital. And so we want to make sure in Virginia Organizing that our leaders, our elected officials are doing the kinds of things they need to do to properly fund mental health. And that's part of the problem, is the funding for it. So in the community, we're gonna share ideas, we're gonna share things that we've experienced, that we've gone through with those in attendance, so that we can be a guide, we can be a help, and we can also pinpoint where some of those problems are and go to find out, if we can make some adjustments or find the root causes.
Yeah, it's so important to bring up bring to the attention of mental health, and such a broad statement says, that's why it's such a stigma in a lot of communities, especially in the African-American community. It's been a stigma, but you have more people like yourself, and we do it a lot on our show, Portsmouth Coffee Talk, and I do it here on Slim Nation, and about, lowering that stigma, and because it hits us all, depression could be something very simple that you don't pay attention to, but it can turn into something very catastrophic for you and your family. You mentioned dementia. All that is a part of mental health, and people just look at it like, they hear the word and say, okay, well, I'm not crazy, but you might not be crazy, but if you're dealing with some deep inside depression, it can, it could turn into, just like people do things and the neighbors say, he was a quiet person, but that person was quiet, but inside he was going through some deep, and some people might call it in the religious area, demons inside, or whatever, however you want to label it. But the more it's put out there, and you're right, Ray, funding has been the issue because people overlook it. But the more attention that's brought to it, the officials that make those policies and fund projects have to pay attention, especially when a group like yours come down. And I was talking to Susan earlier, with a diverse group like you have, coming from all different walks of life. When you go to the General Assembly or the City Council or the school board, you garner that attention because of the makeup of the group, and people, they have to pay attention.
Yeah, and insurance is a major factor also, where some issues come up where, depending on your ability to pay, and the type of, which is in most of the cases when you get up to this level of it's involving insurance, you get the red tape, you get turned away, you don't get the assistance that you need because of your ability to pay. And I learned it from my own personal experience, from my father going through some episodes, and had to get the police involved because of his behavior and all. But that's something that's tough on a family to do, but that's something that you have to do. But he was really in denial, and like you mentioned, a lot of these mental health issues that folks have, some of them, they don't even realize that they're going through this issue, and they don't even know, family members don't know who to turn to. So we have to press upon organizations like behavioral health care and the state, healthcare system, in order to make sure that these problems are addressed. And again, you hate to say that, but it boils down to money. And Virginia has been way behind in funding mental health, even in the school system. Special education, that's underfunded for many, many years. And all of these factors go into the big umbrella of mental health and the stability of a person's mind and the family's ability to deal with it.
Yeah, I think it's also important, especially what you're doing at St. James and what you do going forward, to let other people know how to look for the signs of someone might be having issues. Like you said, your father and many other people going through what he went through were in denial, but family members saw it, and then you all had to act. So a lot of times family members or friends or associates have to realize that something is going on. I mean, take the Walmart shootings and things like that. Something that the guy had to show some signs of irregularities before that, but nobody could pick up on it until after the fact. So the more
Slim,
you know how to do it. Okay, go ahead, Susan. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, every year Mental Health America releases rankings of states based on the prevalence of mental health issues in the state and access to services and several other factors. There are 15 factors. And out of the 50 states in the District of Columbia, Virginia was 34th in services or rankings for adults, but they were 48th out of 51 in youth services. And Ray's being polite, but Virginia has never, ever funded mental health the way it should be. And that, I think that's one thing that we can't say loud enough. I know that every locality is suffering from a lack of qualified personnel to deliver those services. And Richmond is providing bonuses and retention incentives, et cetera, but there's a huge movement to put mental health on the same par as physical health and fund it at the same level, because it's costing the society a huge amount of money to ignore it, essentially. Youth suicide is on the increase, and the age of kids committing suicide is dropping. Self-harm, which is a child hurting themselves, cutting, overdosing, et cetera, cost, I want to say it was something like $230 million last year for the intervention, the healthcare, the law enforcement, et cetera. So not providing mental health services to families is also expensive.
Mhm.
For my dollar, I would rather put it into services and prevention.
Absolutely. And if you look, Slim, if you look back at the statistics for all of the mass shootings, and I know we all talk about this a lot because we've had so many, even just this year, and you say to yourself, what would make someone cold-bloodedly just go in with an automatic high-powered weapon and just mow down children, mow down adults, go in a place or a venue and just try to kill everybody they can until a gun. That's the problems because of mental health. That they have mental health issues. And I'm not claiming to be a doctor and I'm not diagnosing, but I'm just stating my opinion based on what we see, the little information that we do learn about these people, because some of them are actually killed by law enforcement in order to stop them. So, but we have to, as a public and as a people, we have to press, the state and the federal government to do what's right and to do their fair share and to get politics out of this. And that's Virginia's biggest problem is the politics.
Yeah, you're indeed right. We had the director of behavioral health services on, and he was talking about how they are willing to work with law enforcement as far. And then I heard the chief say last night that he's willing to work with mental health professionals to go on some of those calls, because many, oftentimes, like you just mentioned, Ray, a lot of those people that they approach have mental illness or something is wrong where you can't just treat them like you would somebody else that doesn't have that affliction. So,
well, those are Marcus alerts.
That takes funding too, right? Go
yeah,
ahead.
Those are Marcus alerts, and those are going to be, that's where law enforcement will receive a call that they're aware that there's a mental health issue going on, and they can take mental health professionals with them on those calls to help diffuse those situations. And that's going to be rolled out statewide. I think it's being phased in, and I think Portsmouth is coming on board in 1 year or 2 years, where Marcus alert will be implemented.
Yeah, that's good. So you mentioned, Susan, about Virginia's 48th in as far as funding for children, for
right.
And their lives a big problem, because if the young people have problems at an early age and it's not treated or addressed, they grow up with that same issue, and they might not act for 50 years, but they get to a point, where
absolutely
they're triggered by something,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
And then you have the other mental health issues that might come with older age and things like that. But I'm talking about the youth. Sometimes if that goes unchecked or
right.
undiagnosed and untreated,
right.
You have kids acting out in a way where all people can do is shake their head. That's a bad kid, but that's a kid that had some deep down issues.
Right. Yeah.
Chemical imbalance. That happens. Chemical imbalance.
Absolutely.
Have no control over.
Absolutely.
Diagnosed and addressed.
Well, I've also done a lot of work with trauma-informed care, and sort of the mantra of trauma-informed care is you don't ask a kid what's wrong with you. You ask a kid what happened to you, because there was an antecedent to that behavior. There was something that happened in the life of that child that created that trauma. Now, are there bad kids? Of course, they're bad kids. But for the most part, there's a triggering event in a child's life that creates that trauma. And if that trauma goes untreated, undiagnosed, and undealt with, there's going to be a problem.
Okay, on the event at St. James Episcopal,
Yes,
if you mention it, I apologize. Is it open to the public or?
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
and what you'll be looking for, is it, you're gonna have a set amount of people that are gonna be talking about their issues, or it's just like an open forum for people to ask questions or talk about experiences they've had? How's the program set up?
My sense, and maybe Ray can correct me if I'm wrong, is it's going to be a forum, a dialogue.
Okay.
Absolutely, you're exactly right. That's exactly what we want it to be. We want folks to feel comfortable and free to share their experiences, with loved ones or with folks that they know that have gone through episodes and going through problems and dealing with the local hospitals, and also through behavioral health care. If you have had those types of experiences, we want to hear from you. We want you to share the positives and negatives of what you experienced.
So you mentioned behavioral health care, so it will be some mental health professionals there to lend their expertise or be able to answer some of the questions that people might have and what direction they might take.
Not at this session. This is mainly for feedback, from the public. What we will do to follow up is to put all of this together and then get another forum where we can bring in the professionals. This is just a feedback session for citizens and for those that have experienced problems. No, there won't be a panel of experts there present. It'll be just organized dialogue.
Okay, and then you'll be able to take that and have another forum. Because I would suggest, even as you bring in professionals, I always advocate for looking at our local universities. They have the psychology departments, and we have a lady
Absolutely.
we use quite a bit, and people we use from social work that come
Absolutely.
on, and they are glad to come and share what they can. Dr. Ernestine Duncan is a frequent guest on our show. She's now a guest host on our show. She comes on all the time to talk about issues of mental health, and just take advantage of these colleges that have these experts there, and that's what they're doing. They're studying human behavior, and
Right.
sometimes some of the experts might want a little something to show up, but but you can go to these universities and get the same kind of expert advice or conversation that you would get from a professional that might be too busy or want something for their time.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to hear from them, and in the course of the dialogue, information can be shared through the experiences of others, and what approach did they take or how did they approach it. But we also want to identify some of the negative things, some of the problems, some of the issues that can be addressed locally, and folks may not even know where to start, and we can at least share that much with those that are present. But absolutely, we will be reaching out to EVMS and Norfolk State and other institutions, once we can, have formulated, where we need to focus and where do we need to develop a plan of attack, actually, because, that old saying, the squeaky wheel, syndrome. Unless folks stand up, unless folks come out and protest, unless folks, demand that our legislators do the proper thing by properly funding, it's not going to happen. And we can talk about it, and it can, all of the partisan politics, the Republicans and Democrats, it's not about Republicans, Democrats. You know, it's about forcing them to do the things that they haven't done in many, many years.
And who knows, it might be some things come out of that conversation that might be unique to Portsmouth. You know,
Absolutely.
there are some general things that happen that are worldwide as far as mental health, but you never know if you pick out some things that might be unique to Portsmouth. I know poverty is not unique, but that could be a part of it, but it might be some other things.
It's all a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you never know until you have those people that come there and feel comfortable of talking about it. So, and I'm sure they will feel comfortable in the environment that you all have that you all will be providing for them to come in and feel free to talk. That's the main thing, get people to speak up and not sit in their silence, you know, and suffer in their silence.
Yeah, we're going to try to make it as informative, as orderly and respectful as we can to ensure that everybody's comfortable, you know, talking about it. Everybody's comfortable with sharing, and we're not trying to, you know, delve into folks' personal business, but if there's things that, you know, you've experienced or anyone experienced that can, you know, be helpful to somebody else and just lead them in the right direction. And also, as far as our organization, you know, our goal is to come up with a plan of attack as far as, you know, how we're going to approach, you know, our legislators and how we're going to approach the powers to be to, you know, do the right thing.
And it's all that will come from the grassroots. There may be things going on in the community that impede people's ability to get those services that Ray and I are not aware of, or never heard of, wouldn't be aware of until somebody told us. For example, maybe something as simple as having evening hours one night a week.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe something as simple as that might open the services up to a portion of the community that just cannot get there during the day. Yeah. That their lives are not 9 to 5. Maybe one day a week, services may be available till 7 o'clock. Those are the kinds of things that we're looking for. Let's look for positive solutions that will make people's lives better. Mm-hmm. And that's just an example. There's certainly others.
Yeah, you're certainly right. It might be some policies within this behavioral health services department that need to be tweaked a little bit so to be more inclusive.
Exactly.
You know, somebody might miss out on treatment because they don't meet that, you know,
right.
You know,
right.
Where they have to meet in order to qualify for certain things. And
right.
you have certain people that can actually pay for whatever they want. You know, mental health is not just one class of people. Mental health. No. But then you have some people that are able to afford whatever they need, and others that might just be right on the edge of not being able because of policy. And
absolutely.
And so policy and funding is part of the issue too. That
and the disparities in your own personal finance and your own personal ability to pay, that's a major factor also in, you know, getting delivered. I know in the situation with my father, because he had, you know, adequate health insurance, you know, he didn't have to pay a whole lot of money, you know, when his bill, you know, after we went through, it was about 9 months, you know, total from start to finish, you know, until he passed away in 2020. But I mean, just the experience of going to Eastern State Hospital was like $45,000, you know, for about 3-4 weeks. Wow. And but when your insurance can open doors for you, whereas somebody that doesn't have that level of insurance, you know, they have problems, and that's not right. That's not fair.
Yeah, indeed. Mm-hmm. So, and I'll get you to mention the date and of the event again. But before we do that, I want to ask, you know, y'all have dealt with a lot of different subjects, issues, even going down to the General Assembly or the school board or city council. I guess you kept a track, you kind of track the success of what you all have done in order so you all will know whatever direction you all going in was the right way to go. How do you do that, or do you do that? Do you track, just like the prison to pipeline thing, one of the first things you did, Will? Is it some way that you all track and see how effective your efforts were in that endeavor?
I think
I
one
mean,
of the
and that's kind of hard to track because that's a broad thing because, but is it any way you all can see in any way where that might have helped in some way? Or in the
Right.
form of maybe
Yeah,
producing more programs or bringing more
Yeah.
attention to.
I think, James, what you're getting at, yes, there's late as of lately, we were able to get mindfulness introduced into the
Okay, yeah,
Portsmouth
we did
schools.
talk about that, yeah.
Right. And
Mhm.
also going back even further, when I first got into Virginia Organizing, we were dealing with school suspensions and the high rate of young kids, even elementary kids, getting suspended at alarming rates. And we were able to get a bill passed where, these elementary kids are not to be suspended. There was also, a lot of events that we got involved in statewide as well, because there are numerous chapters all over the state of Virginia, as far away as Eastern Shore and Fredericksburg out to the western part of the state, and we assist one another. We've done voter registration activities. We've also have tried to make sure that employees may be treated fairly. We got involved a little bit out there when, if you can remember, James, when the owner of the Chick-fil-A was abusing his employees, and there was some issues out there. We got involved to shut them down. We participated in that too. Those are the kinds of things that we've done. There's been numerous things that we've done over the years that have brought attention to issues and problems. And this one is one of the ones that's been the latest one, the mental health issue.
Yeah, so we appreciate that. And I want to say you're welcome on any one of our formats anytime. The Slim Nation one-on-one conversations or Portsmouth Coffee Talk. So anytime you have a new issue or something you're dealing with, let us know and we'll make time for you to come on and talk about it. I think it's important that any message or anything that's being done in a positive way, that should get out to the people. Often we hear more about the negative things than we hear about what people are doing out there.
Yes.
Especially groups like you're doing with, collectively having people like you out there, on the grassroots, boots on the ground, doing the work that needs to be done, and not just talking the talk.
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. Because what's happened over the years, as you all know, is a lot of these unfunded mandates, even the things that were able to get out of the General Assembly, didn't come with hardly any little or any at all funding. And it rolls back on the local governments to try to cover it, or the local school divisions to try to cover these things, and they pat themselves on the back and throw victory parties over, things that they have passed, but didn't have any monies attached to it. So it's just a constant struggle is to keep the public's interest into these things. A lot of times the disparity that runs rampant across the communities and cities that is not going to do any good. Even those that don't register to vote, you get in arguments with them. It's not going to do any good. They're going to do what they want to do anyway. But that's not necessarily true. And all of the years of experience, and James, you and I have been doing this stuff since high school almost, and we know, Norcom, the new Norcom was built and is still in existence is because of advocacy groups and advocacy persons that, in the community that stood up and fought, for some of the injustices that were perpetrated and attempted over the years. And those things aren't going to ever go away. The racism, and the hidden agendas and a lot of the under the table and backroom things continue to plague, local government, especially, I think, more than anything, even state and federal government. These things are issues that will be with us always, but we can't throw our hands up and give up. We just have to keep fighting, and we just have to put the right people. And I know, James talks about this a lot, vetting the right candidates for the right positions. And we failed miserably in Portsmouth over the years doing that. If we can look at, what's been recently happening with the city council, we fail miserably. We fail the public, but we have to, have a heart for people. And we also have to be concerned for our fellow man, our brothers, our children, and all of it in order to make a difference.
Yeah, and we just have to realize how much power we have, and I think that's the problem. We elect people and we give them more power than we have ourselves, but we actually have the power, or they wouldn't be there. But we elect them and we put them there and put them on a pedestal, and then sometimes their head gets big, but and we can say it won't make a difference. It make a difference if you realize the power you have and just take that power in your hands and
yes,
to the best, to the best of your ability. So,
and Virginia Organizing tries to stay out of that political realm, even though we've got to connect to them, we got to advocate to them, we got to talk to them, but we don't get into endorsements and you vote for this person and that person. We wait till they get in the office, and then we go after them.
Yeah, and sometimes that can weaken your power if you let politics get into what you're trying to do. So, Susan, you better say something.
Slim, I just wanted to piggyback on what Ray was saying. I think part of our success comes from how we operate. We operate as a collective. The power comes from the grassroots. The power comes from people sharing their personal experiences and us devising a strategy or a target or a focus, if you will, on how to address that issue. And that entire conversation comes from the people most affected by those issues. And that's where our real strength is the people most affected, they're identifying what would make their lives better, and then Virginia Organizing coming up with a strategy, a targeted, focused strategy, and being consistent and persistent in how we advocate for that change. And it could be a small change, it could be a large change. Typically, it's the small change that we know we can have an effect on, but that decision comes from people's shared experiences, and that's the foundation.
Indeed. So as we wind down, as I said, give the date and the place for the mental health event you have, and also let people know if they want to be a part of Virginia Organizing. When do you meet and how do you become a member? How you do
Okay. Our mental health listening session is going to be Monday, March 27th at 6 o'clock at St. James Episcopal on Effingham Street. We will have light refreshments. And we meet the first Monday of every month at 6 o'clock, Ray?
6:30.
Okay, 6:30. There are no requirements to be a member. Come, everybody is welcome. We meet at Trinity Episcopal Church there on Court Street, and everyone is welcome.
Yeah, and one other thing I like to mention too, one of the things I like what you all do, you not only, everybody is welcome, but you all have those training sessions that
Mhm.
you know, help people in the group know how to go about
Mhm.
doing what you do, you know,
Mhm.
and that's what makes you all so organized, that
Mhm.
everybody in there, you know, it's not, everybody's not running crazy. Well, what do I do? But those training sessions that y'all have, and how to deal with certain things, how to go down to for the General Assembly, how to
Absolutely.
approach the school board, or, you know, how
Right.
to get things done. And
Yeah.
everybody's on the same page. And I think
Yeah.
that's a great way, and something that not all groups do.
Yeah. We
people-
want to empower everybody.
Right.
Everybody. Yeah.
That's
Indeed.
right.
All right. Any other last comments before we go?
No, we just want to thank you for giving us the platform and opportunity to share, you know, this event of ours. And there are going to be some follow-up events, you know, from this, I know, once we, you know, get into this one and past it and kind of dissect and look at, you know, where we are and where we need to go. But, you know, we appreciate, you know, you providing this platform, you know, for us to put this word out.
Yes, no problem. I appreciate you all coming on and being a part of the Slim Nation. And this I'll upload this to my YouTube channel later, and also share it in some other places after the broadcast. But we want to thank Susan Fincke, and earlier I called her Fincke, you know, and
I get called all kinds of things.
if you look at it, it's not really Fincke, you know, I mean, there's no L in there, but anyway, when we first
You're
look at it,
fine.
it makes you want to say that. So anyway,
You're fine.
Susan Fincke, and of course, Ray Smith, we appreciate you coming on. And we appreciate everyone watching the Slim Nation. And remember to be aware, be informed, and as always, be involved. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.